Let's move on over from college to the NFL. We have our Week 17 picks from the NFL slate. It is Fantasy Football Championship week, so good luck to all of your fantasy teams out there. So hopefully we get some high-scoring games this weekend to go inside with that. We've got 3 Christmas Day games as well as a couple on Saturday again. Both of our best bets from Week 16 hit. My 20-plus point fantasy guarantee was Jamar Chase. He finished with 19.9, but you know what? I'm going to count it. It's close enough. That's just robbery. So I'm going to give myself that one. But let's start things out with the first game of Christmas Day. The Cowboys at the Commanders. Dallas is a 7-point road favorite with a 50.5-point over-under and likely no Marcus Mariota for Washington. So, Braden, who do you like?
Yeah, this Christmas Day slate as a whole just stinks. In this first game, Josh Johnson is going to be at quarterback for the Commanders. It's possible we see Joe Milton for the Cowboys. I think they're going to stick with Dak based on what Brian Schottenheimer has said. But the Cowboys are eliminated, so maybe they see what they have in Milton. They did trade, I think it was a 4th-round pick to New England to get him as a backup. So I think this game is going to be not really all that close. I don't think Josh Johnson's going to be able to do a whole lot. The Commanders' rushing attack has been pretty anemic all season. Dallas should roll in this one, despite being on the road. I'll take the Cowboys 31, the Commanders 13, and the under, and the Cowboys to cover.
In one of my championships this week, I have Javonte Williams, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson. So really hoping that CeeDee Lamb does not just explode this week, because that would hurt me dramatically. But I'm with you. I don't really think this game is ever going to be super, super close. I think Dallas takes care of business relatively easily, even though I do think it'll finish as a one-score game, but I think that's just going to be a garbage time score for Washington. So I will say the Cowboys win and cover, and I'll take the under in a 28-20 final score. Second game of Christmas Day, we've got the Lions at the Vikings. Detroit is a 6-point road favorite with a 44.5-point over-under. Now, it is worth saying that 6-point line was before J.J. McCarthy was ruled out. So I don't know how that's moved. I can look while you're saying your analysis. But who do you think takes care of business, Braden?
Yeah, as of about an hour ago, the line did shift to Detroit minus 7.5. The over-under is at 43.5 now. So already some slight movement in favor of Detroit. With Max Brosmer officially starting for Minnesota, it's not good. I mean, he looked like the worst quarterback of all time. In his only start against Seattle, had 4 interceptions, had a really terrible pick 6. I think this game is going to be an absolute rout. Detroit is going to be going for revenge and their playoff lives. They have to win out and get some help. I think they're going to dominate. I will take Detroit 34, Minnesota 7. So Detroit will cover quite handily, and the under will hit by a couple of points.
I got very little to add to that. I have a very similar thought process as you. Detroit's playing for their lives at this point. Minnesota's got their 3rd-string quarterback. So I think this game is not going to be particularly close. I will say the Lions win and cover these 7.5 points, and I'll take the over. I will say final score of 31-14 in favor of Detroit. And then Christmas night, we have the Broncos at the Chiefs. Denver is a 13.5-point road favorite in Kansas City, which at the start of the season, imagine saying that out loud. That Week 17, Denver is a 2-touchdown favorite in Kansas City. Just ridiculous. But a 36.5-point over-under. Who do you like?
Oh, this is going to be a rough nightcap for Christmas Day. I will personally be watching the NBA instead of this game. This would be my shutout pick of the week, except I think that Bo Nix is going to turn the ball over in his own territory at some point in the game. Kansas City's defense is at least solid enough where they might be able to do something. Granted, they did give up 26 points, or I think 23 points to the Tennessee Titans. Because there's a touchdown called back. So it's going to be a really unfortunate game to watch. My best bet of the week is going to be the under at 36.5 in this game. I think the Broncos win. I think the Chiefs cover. I'll go 17-7 as my final score.
Yeah, this game is going to be extremely ugly. I don't really feel like watching it myself either. With the Chiefs' 3rd-string quarterback, I think it's Chris Oluwakin. With Gardner Minshew having a knee injury last week, it's not going to be pretty. So I will say the Broncos win. I think they cover as well, and I will take the under. in a 24-6 Denver Broncos victory. Moving on to Saturday, first game of the day, we have the Texans at the Chargers. Chargers are a 2.5-point home favorite with a 39.5-point over-under, Braden.
Yeah, the Texans looked really hot and then almost lost at home to the Raiders. Kind of an inexplicable upset bid that the Raiders put on there. LA, meanwhile, looked great in Dallas. So naturally, I will take the Texans to win this game on the road. I will take the Texans by a final score of 21-17. So obviously the Texans cover as slight dogs. And I think the under will narrowly escape.
Yeah, I think not having Woody Marks last week really hurt the Texans. They still won, but it was not a pretty game against what is probably the worst team in the NFL right now. So I do think that they will get more back on track this week. I do think they're going to lose, though. I'm going to take the Chargers to win. They looked pretty damn good against Dallas last week, holding that offense to 17 points. So I think they're peaking at the right time. O'Marion Hampton is just getting healthier and healthier. And this is not a good offensive line situation for Houston. I think that defense is going to get a lot of penetration. So I'm going to take the Chargers to win. I think that the over is going to hit slightly, and I will say 21-20 as my final score prediction. Then the night game on Saturday, we have the Ravens at the Packers in what could very well end up being a battle of backup quarterbacks. Green Bay is a 2.5-point home favorite with a 40.5-point over-under, Braden.
Yeah, it would be hilarious to see Tyler Huntley face Malik Willis in this game. I do think that both starting quarterbacks will play. So with that being said, I think the Packers bounce back from that tough loss last week on Saturday night. I will take them to win 27-21, and I think eliminate the Ravens from playoff contention because I think they're out with either a Steelers win or a loss.
Yep, that is correct. If it is a backup quarterback situation, which I'm going to go on the side of that it is, I think that favors Green Bay a little bit more, especially at home. Tyler Huntley, as far as backup quarterbacks go, is pretty damn good. But this Packers defense is also pretty damn good. They stayed in it with Chicago last week, despite Jordan Love going down without Micah Parsons. So with the Packers not really needing to win this game, but can officially clinch with the win, I think they're going to be pretty fired up. So I will say the Packers win and cover, and I'll take the under in a 24-14 victory for Green Bay. And then as for Sunday, we have the Cardinals at the Bengals in what is the highest projected score of the week. Cincinnati is a 7-point home favorite with a 53.5-point over-under. Who do you like?
I like Trey McBride to put up approximately 1 billion fantasy points in this game. He's coming off a dud. He's going to go great in the vast majority of your third place games. Obviously, you have him against me in a championship. I have him going for me in a couple of championships as well. So, great match for him. The Bengals give up a ton of points to tight ends. But as for the game itself, the Bengals offense looked great against Miami, put up 45 points. The Cardinals offense wasn't great against Atlanta. Jacoby Brissett fell back down to earth a little bit. I will take the Bengals to win. I will take the Cardinals to cover, however, and I will go with a final score of 37-31.
And I should have said this at the start. I was going to do Trey McBride as my 20-plus point fantasy guarantee, but I have him in a championship, and I really don't want to jinx myself. So we're going to skip the 20-plus point fantasy guarantee in championship week just to avoid any jinxes. So with that out of the way, I think this is going to be maybe one of the most fun games of the weekend. Two very fun offenses to watch against two very bad defenses. So I think the over will hit. Cincinnati, though, is playing pretty well after last week. I think they're going to ride a little bit of momentum, even though it doesn't matter. And the Cardinals, it just feels like find a way to lose every single week. So I will take Cincy to win. I will take them to cover as well. And my final score prediction is going to be 34-24 in favor of the Bengals. Then we have the Steelers at the Browns in what is comfortably the lowest projected score of the week at 33.5 points. The Steelers are also 3.5-point road favorites and can clinch the AFC North with a win or a Ravens loss, as you mentioned. Braden, can they get it done?
I don't think they can, but I don't think the Steelers are going to run away with this one either. Pittsburgh is kind of in a letdown spot. Cleveland actually was competitive against the Buffalo Bills this last week. On paper, should be a double-digit win for Pittsburgh, but I don't think it will be. There's going to be some decent winds. I saw like 14 miles an hour and then some rain throughout the game. It's an ugly game from a weather standpoint, and this line being 3.5 feels like a trap line. So, with that being said, I think the Steelers still win, but I think the Browns cover. I think this game goes under the 33.5 as well. I will go Pittsburgh 16, Cleveland 13.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the under hits as well, especially with the Browns not having Quinshon Judkins after having a lower body injury last week, which does not sound great. So I think the Steelers get it done. They're riding high after that Detroit win last week, which the ending of that game, if you did not see it, you should go back and pull it up on YouTube or something because you just have to see it to believe it, quite honestly. But I think they're riding high after that win. I will say that the Steelers win and cover, and I will take the under just narrowly with a final score of 17-14. Or I guess the Browns would cover in that scenario. So the Browns will cover, but the under will hit with a 17-14 final score. The Week 17 check your pants after you fart game is going to be the Saints at the Titans. The Saints are 2.5-point road favorites with an over-under of 39.5 points. Who do you like here, Braden?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Saints in this one. They've quietly been really solid with Tyler Shuck at quarterback. They've rattled off a couple wins in a row against some okay teams. Obviously beating the Panthers a couple of weeks ago. And then I'm blanking on who they just beat on Sunday.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, they beat somebody else on Sunday. I think it was the Jets. Cam Ward doesn't have the luxury of having skill position players with the word competence that I could use to describe them around him, like Tyler Shuck does with Chris Olave at the very least. So I would go with the Saints in this one by a final score of 27-16. And imagine telling someone after week 4 that the Saints would win 6 games this year. I mean, you probably could have made millions of dollars off of like a $2 bet at that rate.
I wanted to go Tennessee in this one, just with seeing how Cam Ward did last week against a pretty good Chiefs defense. I think he's really starting to turn the corner, and I gave him some grief at the start of the year, but he's really started to show some promise. So I am going to go with the Saints, though. I think Tyler Shuck is playing pretty well. I have Chris Olave in a championship. I know you have him in the one that you're against me in. So I'm a little bit torn on that, but I think the Saints are playing some pretty good football as of late, even though Saints fans would probably prefer that they lose and get a better draft pick. But I think they continue their hot streak with a win against the Titans. I will say the Saints cover, and I will take the under in a 21-17 final score. Up next, an AFC South divisional battle, the Jaguars at the Colts. Jaguars are 6.5-point road favorites with a 47.5-point over-under, Braden.
Yeah, I know for you, this game is a lose-lose for the Jaguars because either they lose and they were frauds, or they beat the Colts starting Riley Leonard and they're still frauds. I think if Phillip Rivers played this game, it would be a lot closer. I think the Colts pretty much dead. I don't think they're officially dead yet, but they're, for all intents and purposes, out. I think they're going to start Riley Leonard and just see if they have anything with him at quarterback. The Colts defense, meanwhile, would let me throw for 250 yards against them, and I have no experience as a quarterback at any level of organized football. So with that being said, I will take the Jaguars in this one by a score of 34-9, so they will win, cover, and the under hits.
Now, I do just want to say, the Colts are starting Phillip Rivers. I looked it up as you were saying that, so maybe that plays a little bit more into it. But either way, I think the Jags get this one done. As much as I think they're still frauds, I think that they're going to handle the Colts pretty easily in this one. Trevor Lawrence, ever since I said that he can't really win a playoff game or win a big game, he has just gone nuclear. So thanks for that, Trevor, making me look like a jackass. But this Jaguars team is playing pretty well right now. I think they continue their hot streak. I will say that they win. I will say that they cover with a final score of 30-23. So I would say the over will hit as well. Then the Bucks at the Dolphins. The Bucks are 5.5-point road favorites, kind of playing for their lives at this point, with a 46.5-point over/under. Who do you like here?
I think Tampa wins and covers in this one. Quinn Ewers was okay in his debut, had 260 yards passing, but did throw 2 interceptions against Cincinnati. Tampa's defense is far from great, but it is definitely a step up from whatever they call a defense out there in Cincinnati. I think Tampa wins this one 23-15, so the under will hit pretty comfortably as well.
And yeah, this is going to be my best bet of the week. I think the Bucks win and cover. I think them playing for their lives, having all their weapons back and healthy, I think is going to play a huge part in this game. And going against a backup quarterback, I don't think it's really going to be ever close at any particular point. Maybe, the Dolphins score first, and it looks like they might have a chance in this game. But I think Tampa's just going to outdo them in pretty much every facet. So I'll take Tampa to win and cover. And I'll take the over in this one. I will say Tampa Bay 31-21 as my final score. Then the Patriots at the Jets, which just kind of feels like the hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby meme. The Patriots are 13.5-point road favorites with a 42.5-point over-under. Who do you got?
I think the Pats win this game very comfortably. Brady Cook as the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, or I guess starting quarterback and relief quarterback for a game, has a total of 527 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 6 interceptions. He has completed less than 60% of his passes as well. It's a very rough state of things for the New York Jets. It's going to get worse this week. I will take New England by a score of 30-10, so they win and cover fairly easily. And with the point total at 42.5, the under will escape.
I got nothing to add to that. I think the Jets get shut out this week. I've got my final score prediction as 27-0. So I think the Pats run away with this one from the start, and it will never be particularly close. So, yeah. Up next, we have the Seahawks at the Panthers. Seattle is a 7.5-point road favorite with a 42.5-point over-under. Braden, who gets it done?
Yeah, like I said last week, the Panthers are the anti-James Franklin. The Buccaneers go into Carolina as a 3-point road favorite, and naturally, the Panthers win. That's going to continue this week against the Seattle team that I think is going to be looking ahead to Week 18. They play San Francisco in Week 18. The winner of that game gets the division. I think that the Panthers win this one 19-17, so they cover the 7.5, obviously, and the under hits.
And I went back and forth on this because, like you said, I mean, every game the Panthers should, in theory, lose. They win, and vice versa. And so that feels like something that could continue this week. But I think Seattle knows that if they just keep on winning, that they're the 1 seed. And so I think that's going to be in the back of their mind as well. So it might be a look-ahead spot, but I think they're going to be pretty focused in this one. So I will take Seattle to win. I do think the Panthers cover just because they do well against the good teams. And I'll take the over as well in a 23-20 final score in favor of the Seahawks. There was no easier possible pick for the Week 17 shit stain of the week than the battle for the number 1 overall pick between the Raiders and the Giants. The Raiders are a 1.5-point home favorite with a 41.5-point over-under. Who gets it done, or really, I should say, who loses and wins as a result?
Yeah, I was going to say the real winner of this game is the loser, because the loser is getting the number 1 pick. So great tie in there. I think the Raiders lose by winning in this one. I think they go pick up the W 24-23. And bonus prediction, the Giants will go for a 2-point conversion and fail it to end the game instead of kicking extra point to tie and force overtime. I think with Jackson Dart, the Giants have some life, but if you can get the number 1 pick and you can trade away what becomes Fernando Mendoza for another top 5 first-round pick and a future first, that's going to be sitting in the back of their minds. And Mike Kafka has nothing to lose, so as the interim coach, he'll go for 2 there.
Yeah, and I get the thought process. I just feel like the Giants have been so close for so many weeks that they're begging for a win. And I think the Raiders at this point in the season are comfortably the worst team in the league. So I will take the Giants to lose by winning. And I think the Raiders lock up the number 1 pick. I will say the Giants win outright as underdogs. And the under will hit as well in a 20-17 final score. A much better game than that. The Eagles at the Bills. Buffalo is a 1.5-point home favorite with a 43.5-point over-under, Braden.
Yeah, this is probably the game of the week in my mind, or at least it's a toss-up with Bears 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Buffalo and Josh Allen specifically struggled against the Browns. I think they're going to be ready to go in this one, especially being at home. The Eagles offense started to find something against Washington last week, but that's also one of the worst defenses in football. I'm curious to see If Jalen Hurts continues to remember that A.J. Brown exists, he actually threw the ball to him quite a bit in that game on Saturday, but Brown's been kind of inconsistent with the number of targets he's been getting over the course of the year. I'm going to go with the Bills in this one to win and cover, and I take the over in this one as well. I will go Bills 29, not 49. Eagles 26.
It feels to me like you said, the Eagles offense is starting to get things figured out, and albeit against two very bad teams the last couple of weeks with the Commanders and the Raiders. But the weakness of this Buffalo Bills team is their run defense, and I think Saquon Barkley is going to go nuclear in this one. So I'm going to take the Eagles to win outright, and I think the over hits in a 27-24 final score in favor of Philadelphia. And then you mentioned that Sunday night game between the Bears and the 49ers. The Niners are 3-point home favorites with a 52.5-point over-under. Who wins this one?
Yeah, San Fran is red hot right now. The Bears are a good team for sure, but they are also a very lucky one. I think 49ers fans will be very pleased with this result. I'll go San Fran 31, Chicago 21 in a game that's maybe semi-close, but you kind of understand that the Niners have control the entire way.
And this is another game that I went really, really back and forth between because both teams, can control their own destiny. The Bears, I think, can lock up the division with a win. You mentioned the 49ers. If they win both their games, they have the 1 seed, or maybe not the 1 seed, but they have the NFC West title. So both teams have a lot to play for in this one. It just, like I said last week, it just feels like the Bears are starting to get things clicking. I think that huge overtime play from Williams to DJ Moore is going to give them some momentum. So I'm going to take the Bears to do it again, and I think they beat the 49ers as road underdogs. I'm going to say that the under hits as well in a 24-21 final score in favor of Chicago. And then the last game of Week 17, with a lot of fantasy implications, the Rams at the Falcons. The Rams are 7.5-point road favorites with a 49.5-point over-under. Who do you like here, Braden?
Yeah, 7.5 points feels a little too many, considering that the Falcons have been fairly competitive over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, they've picked up a couple of wins against Tampa and Arizona over their last few games. I think the Rams still win, but I will take Atlanta to cover. I will take the under as well. I think it's going to be interesting to see what version of Kyle Pitts we get, especially if I need him to put up some points against you in our Dynasty Championship. So I'll go with the Rams by a score of 24-20.
Well, and I believe you have Bijan in that league as well, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, so that could be a huge game for our matchup. But I'm with you. I think the Rams get it done, but I do think it'll be close. This is a Falcons offense that has really looked good. And with Drake London back, another week healthier, I think it's going to be a relatively high-scoring game. So I will take the over, actually. But I will say that the Falcons cover, and I will say 27-24 as my final score prediction.